Hello, everyone. Welcome to Achieving Success with Olivia Akin. I'm your host, Olivia Akin. Each week, we will discuss the roadmap of achieving your personal and professional success. We give you real life stories on growing personally and professionally to achieve your life and career goals with the help of some top notch guests. Today, we are speaking with Andrew Bohr. Andrew is the founder of Rocket Entertainment, a cutting edge event entertainment company that has been elevating celebrations for over 25 years. Known for their high energy performances and customized experiences, Rocket Entertainment sets itself apart by focusing on creating unforgettable, one-of-a-kind events that reflect each client's unique vision. From weddings to corporate galas, Andrew and his team combine creativity, innovation, and a passion to make every moment memorable. What truly sets Rocket apart is their commitment to excellence, personalized service, and ability to keep every dance floor packed and every guest energized. You can find Andrew by going to his website, rockyourpartynow.com, or by emailing him at info@rocketentertainment.com. Hello, Andrew. It's fantastic having you on the show.
Olivia, thanks for having me. I am so excited, and hello to everyone watching and listening in. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited, and I will give this caveat. I was giving this to our producer beforehand. Andrew and I have known each other, and I have seen Andrew's entrepreneurial and company journey now for 15 years. We are very young.
That's
we
you.
were joking. We were joking about that beforehand, and I met Andrew when I was 15 years old. And Andrew's not that much older than me. We're a few years apart. So to say 25 years, Andrew's really been in the industry and seeing how things have changed and adapt and changing with times and really providing the ultimate customer service and experience to everyone. And this is also a very proud moment for me because Andrew's one of my best friends. And so being able to have him on my podcast and I've been trying since I launched. We were joking about this. I'm like, Andrew, I gotta have you on. So now being able to have this moment and really highlight the amazing thing Andrew's done, I'm super excited. And that being said, Andrew, to start off the show, can you tell me what success means and looks like to Andrew Bohr?
Such a good question. And it is true, by the way, you have been trying to get me to join you on here, and I'm finally so excited to be doing this. So thank you for inviting me onto your show. And it's actually a great question, and it's something I ponder quite a bit because success can look so different to everyone and at different periods of time as well. One of the things that inspired me for success always, and it's a bar that I'm always trying to challenge and bring things to the next level, is figuring out what is your purpose in life. And if you could figure out why you do what you do, which many people go their whole lifetime without even finding out what that purpose is. But if you could genuinely find out the reason of what you do and then create an incredible service or product that bases off of that, and you can find what that is the ultimate definition of happiness, is doing something that you love that never ever feels like work. And I feel like we could both agree on that too.
I 100% agree. And that leads me into talking about your journey and like finding your passion at such a young age and listening to that. Because a lot of people feel like they might know what they want to do or what really excites them and makes them happy and they're passionate about and what they want to implement. But then as they get older, their door of like, yes, I'm going to walk through this path gets smaller and smaller until they decide to potentially go down a different route. But for you at a very young age, and I've seen pictures, everyone, so I know it's true. You found the power in your passion for DJing. I mean, at 13 years old, you were DJing events and really saying like, this is what I want to do the rest of my life, which is incredible. Can you take us back to the moment when you first realized that was something you not only loved, but wanted to turn it into a career? And also then at like, how did you advocate for yourself to make that a career, especially at such a young age with your family, with people in the industry all around?
So let's just go backwards in time. So I'm thinking of the little 13-year-old Andrew that was just getting started. The inspiration always came from the one and only Jason Goldstein back at the days of camp. And we grew up together, and it was about 13 years old. I always was a little bit more on the shy side. I didn't want to, we went to overnight camp together and they had these camp dances, and Jason was the DJ man. And I always remember I didn't want to be in the crowd dancing. I was trying to find a way to not be that kind of guy. So I always said, well, let me hang with this DJ, kid, because he looks kind of cool and it looks fun. So the kind of start of it for me was more just in the nature of it getting involved in it and being something that's fun and that it's a challenge to learn. But as I started, I guess like in the beginning time, there was no real mission that was behind it. It was just more a matter of, okay, cool, this is fun. I love doing this, but there wasn't a deeper reason why I was doing it. So as I got a little bit older and I started working with more of an entertainment company, that I started learning a little bit more about the industry. I saw this really unique concept of integrating DJ with live music. And Olivia remembers those days way back in the day at that Temple Emmanuel New Year's Eve event where we had the percussion and the saxophone and the flute and all these cool things. But I saw the concept, and I always felt there was something really unique about blending a DJ with a live band. And as I started doing it more and more and evolving and putting the concept down, I started realizing that there was such a need in the overall event industry, but let's just more, specifically talk about weddings. I always found that there was such a need and such an important day in somebody's life. You only have one time to do this. And people sometimes will see couples that are, do we have a DJ? Do we have a band? And there's perks of a DJ, there's perks of a band. And so we started making this interesting combination and we started having just this such incredible feedback. We saw that we could elevate the entertainment experience in general instead of just having a DJ or a live band. This was something that fit the best of both worlds for so many different people. But then on a greater level, once I started seeing that you could not only do such a unique type of entertainment that I love, but also be able to figure out a way to make couples once in a lifetime days so special. And on top of that, do this for my work and my career. I said, like, is this a dream? Like, this can't even be real. And that was the moment for me that I did start to establish and really build off of it, that things aren't always easy, but if you can find a mission in what inspires you, as I mentioned, if you could take that mission and inspire it and translate that into growing a business and building the levels through a business, you're always going to result back in doing what you love and never feels like I'm going to work. So as soon as that moment occurred, and that to this day still sticks with me, is wait a second, I'm really working. Like, am I working or am I not working? But it's what I love to do. And I'm very, very blessed to be in that position.
And I want to go into two aspects of that because it brings up two things that have hit very personal to me watching Andrew have this growth and also see his experiences in every day and teaching me. There's so much over our friendship that like I lean on Andrew where I'm like, as an entrepreneur to entrepreneur, like I got that. You gotta tell me like this side of things or like having friends in that space. And one of the amazing things Andrew's done over the years is and I want you to talk about this mentality and why you focus on this is the side of working with your friends, how to stay with that, and how to help your friends grow and evolve in their craft and what they're doing. Because I know firsthand, I have worked with Andrew for many years throughout different stages of my life. And he's to this day one of my best friends. And I can always call him Andrew. And there have been many times where I show up and Andrew's my boss, right? Whether it's doing different events or and being at events or trade shows. And there's so much I've learned about the industry as a whole because Andrew has taken the time to teach me. But a lot of our friends and have been friends for many years are people Andrew became friends with, like Jason Goldstein at a very young age. And then as he grew his business, he brought them in and hired them and kept them on. For you, like, what is it like making that conscious decision? Because a lot of people would say, don't mix personal life with professional life, this and that. And then how, during moments of hard conversation, do you try to make sure people understand, like, this is my business, like, this is my baby, and you're a friend?
Well, first of all, you're my best friend too. No, it's we've been so close, and I love that you asked this question because it's it's one of the hardest struggles in any business, and it's something that it's a if you don't do this the right way, it can absolutely be a blessing and a curse at the same time. Um, it was just like you mentioned, having a team that's built on friendship is one of the greatest feelings that you can ever have. Because jumping back into our last question about doing what you love, even taking that a step further, when you do what you love and you're surrounded by your friends and people that genuinely care about you, that's even a whole different level than just doing something completely on your own. So let's just talk about the great advantages of working with a great team of friends. And then let's talk about some of the disadvantages, and then we'll weigh them out here and explain to everyone from what I've seen. So the number one advantage when you work with friends in general is you view that we're there to help each other, and we don't just want the success for me and my business, but I also genuinely want each person individually to find their own success within Rocket. Not just like, oh man, like we're going to work for this guy and we don't get anything from it either. And that's like the number one. The number two is for sure when you work with people you're really close with that you can trust that they're going to be there. I don't have to ever worry about it. Let's just say somebody like Isaac, let's say somebody like Lyle, if you're watching this, you never have to question, are they going to make it? Are they not going to be there? I just know for sure that you build a level of trust. And as a great friend, not only are they showing up and doing what they do, they're always bringing it to the next level because they're doing it for themselves, they're doing it for me, and they're doing it for the business. And on top of that, we always have the ability to connect outside of work. Like last night, and Olivia, you missed it. We did Top Golf. It was really fun, even though not very good at, Top Golf. But we always love doing just different activities and getting together outside of, the actual events and being able to connect. And that friendship really does hold a lot together when it comes to events and just building together as a team. We all love watching each other individually grow separately than just a company. So those are some of the pros. The cons is, as you mentioned, there are times where at the end of the day, it is a business and you have to be able to separate business from friendship. So there are challenges that always arise in being able to know that it is a business and it's my business and things have to be done the right way. And people can't be afraid of being critiqued in order to get better. After all of the events, we come and sit down here on Mondays and we talk about this is what went well, this is what we could have done better. And that's a hard conversation too, singling out one person you didn't do this right, or this could be done better, especially when you're talking to a close friend. But understanding that we're all there for the same mission, it really, you have to establish that, is that this is not a personal attack. This is all that we're here ultimately helping each other and trying to get each other to the next level. So there are pros and cons. You just have to establish, when it's friends, when it's business, and then also when you hang out with friends, you also have to be able to disconnect the business part of it too. So a lot of pros and cons. I've always been a huge fan of the pros outweighing the potential cons, because of good communication should allow those cons to not really be a con. It's just something you have to understand going into it, and everyone has to be on the same page.
And I 100% agree with you. And I think that's one thing in it is like, I've had conversations and it's gone so many different ways. And you and I, even as, because I am a little younger than the rest of the crew, in our friend group, of like, okay, there were times where I was growing as an individual where I was like 17 years old, 18 years old, or not as experienced, and I'd like push back on something, and you're like, Olivia, love you, but like, no, this is the way it's going, right? And like having those conversations of like, understand, like, we are friends and you're trying to help me, but like, this is where it's sitting, and explaining it and having those conversations. But I think there's such power in what you said, as well as understanding that when you bring your friends into it, there's so many other levels that get to go into play. The understanding that they will show up, and I know everyone on the team always shows up, understanding that when they give advice or trying to help and stepping in to solve a problem, it's coming from a place of wanting everyone to succeed and do that. There's also a level, I will say too, of they're the first one to maybe when you have a friend group in general to, and I've witnessed it, I've been it, I've been that person of like, when I'm seeing something that I know is not best for the company, that is not being shown to Andrew, maybe it's someone that isn't within our inner circle and is a new hire, I go directly to Andrew and I'm like, hey, do you know this is going on? Right. And
Oh,
get that cut immediately. And then those conversations could have pretty quickly and like get things on track and be like, no, this is the level of excellence we're setting. Um, I want to go a little into a different topic, and something I've also had conversations with people and challenged them on is your concept of DJ and live music mix. And when I talk to people about that, I always hear what you just mentioned. I don't know if we want a DJ. I don't know if I want live music. I want a DJ. My boyfriend want live music, and like a list of things, right? My
yep.
fiance, or our family for this event or corporate thing. And then I go, well, what if you could have both? They're like, wait, what? And I'm like, well, what if you get that DJ? Because typically, and correct me if I'm wrong, people lean towards DJs, not only because you can remix songs and do this and that, but you hear the music as the artist who created the music gets played.
Much better.
The other hand, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, the live music is because it's live and you get all those real sounds and that aspect of things. But when you can combine it, it it gives you the best of both worlds. So how, for you, do you express to a potential new client or someone who might not even realize that is an option, that this is an option, but it also gets completely customized to what your budget is, as well as what you really want to highlight?
So first of all, it sounds like you know a little bit about this. You were right in every one of your points you mentioned about the
I did have
dilemma.
a good teacher, so I will say.
Well, that is true. um, so exactly how you mentioned, that's always like the starting point is in wedding couples, especially this dilemma about a DJ versus a band. There's the things that I hear frequently that couples like about a DJ is the versatility of all different genres that you can incorporate, not just, Earth, Wind and Fire, or the stereotypical Aretha Franklin, like those kind of like cheesy wedding songs. Um, they're great songs, but still a little cheesy. But um, being able to not just hear the original songs the way that it was recorded, but even in general, a DJ is able to creatively blend and transition and mix all these different genres together where the track feels seamless. It doesn't go from one song to a totally different vibe. The transition just feels like it's an ongoing track and the song never ends. So if you're out there, you're dancing, you're having a good time, you're doing your thing, you're just, you don't even realize, wait, we're in a new song already. And that's the goal, is being able to mix all different genres. It doesn't have to be there's one genre of, let's just say, Motown, and then it's one genre of 2000s, and then here's a more of a country. It doesn't have to be linear with a DJ, because a good DJ that knows how to transition and mix these different genres, we can go from like a country song into a hip hop, into a maybe a pop rock, into a like a little bit of a Bad Bunny, into a little dance vibe, into Pitbull, into J Lo, and that's what's really unique about a DJ perspective. On the band side, you mentioned it, energy of a live band. There is something that is so much more live and energetic, and just it feels more like party vibe when you have a live band as opposed to just like a DJ in like a little corner. And a lot of that could just be the presence of people on stage. And there's something about people performing that just elevates to a different level than a DJ. So those are the pros and the cons. Now, how do we merge that gap? So going back to your question, there's so many different price points. There's different levels. We always try to base things on what we know are good combinations for couples. So there's certain instruments that blend better with a DJ than others. So that's why we always start with the DJ and drums. And drums we consider to be the foundation of dance music. So when a DJ is mixing and the drummer is able to kind of keep that like little groove, and that's what really gives that the dance element to it. So sometimes couples will come to us and say, "Oh, we want a DJ and a violin player." And while the possibilities are endless, there's certain combinations that we know work better. And having the drums as the first one is always the foundation. The saxophone is really cool paired with the DJ and the drums, especially when the saxophone player is able to get out on the dance floor and play a little bit with the guests. And guitar is another great one. Keyboard that gets paired into it can allow us to do what we would call a band without the vocalist. And that's more along the lines of a live band, but still having the DJ mixing the music. So now you have the full sound of a live band, but you have all the benefits that a DJ brings. So it's a really unique combination. But the key thing that I feel like, and I know, Olivia, you've seen this with us over the years and couples as well, the key thing to a concept with this is somebody has to be open about wanting to do something a little bit non-traditional. They can't be afraid of showing up to my friends, my family coming and showing up and saying, "Oh, is this a band? Is it a DJ?" You kind of have to be okay with that you're not really sure. And it is a unique combination of both. But it really does fit perfectly for couples that are in that dilemma. They might not have the budget that a full 10, 12, 14, 18 piece band, but they might want something more than just a DJ with a turntable. So it is a nice combination at all different levels of pricing and integrations for somebody's wedding.
I will also say it's a good combination if you can't agree on what you want. I will
That's
also
true
put it
too.
out there.
Yeah, no, that is true. And there are a lot of couples that aren't really sure what kind of vision. And it allows for a little bit of both. It gives more of a sound of the live band, but having the DJ is just very unique.
And I will say personally, because I've had this conversation with people, and like to me, I'm like, to your point, it is the band without the vocal aspect of the band and
Mhm.
being able to transition better. For you, was it like when a couple comes in, they want this, they are like, yes, let's do it, let's move forward. And then working with them to the point of like their wedding night and after, and even seeing like their family, their friends, them like see what you've been talking about like come to life and those experiences that they have dancing with maybe the saxophone player or like any of those moments.
Oh, it's so much fun. And guests always come and they leave and they're like, wait, what is this? This band, but there's a DJ. It really is cool. Especially for couples that dancing is important to them. That's the big thing I always stress. If somebody's looking for something really high energy, something really fun, this is a really cool concept. If somebody's looking for more of a chill, kind of like sit around dinner party, maybe not so much. But if somebody's looking to have a really good time, dance, celebrate with their friends, this is such a great middle between them both.
When you go to the event and you have your team, what does that setup look like? Like some people think, okay, you can walk in, it won't take that long. There's hours that go into it. So, what is a typical day in the life of Andrew and team when it goes to a wedding event?
Always a fun adventure. Let's say that. um, we very, very much take seriously the account of number one, each venue is a little bit different. So certain venues have different load-ins, some in the city. You have parking challenges. There's always unique situations to individual venues. But more importantly, it is a lot of equipment that we use, and it's also technology. And we live in a world where, hey, this microphone isn't working right, or this drum element doesn't work right. And that's why we are so big on investing so much time into making sure that we have backups of backups of backups, backup laptops, backup audio, backup lighting. It's so important. And that's why we do, like you said, Olivia, we do get there, hours before the start of a wedding so we can get everything set up and tested and just to really understand that this is somebody's once in a lifetime day and you can't be setting up as guests are coming into the room. So we like to do this right. We have everyone has like very individualized roles of what they do in the setup, but the number one thing is giving ourselves time to set up. And then, of course, after the event is over, we still have to break it all down and load it back into our vehicle and get back here to our warehouse and unload everything. So there's, like you mentioned, there is a lot more that goes into it than just a 4 hour reception. We're here and we're out. It's typically if a wedding ceremony starts around 4 p.m. or 4:30, we typically are arriving at our warehouse around 9 or 10 a.m. And that deals with then loading up the equipment and preparing, arriving to the venue, setting up, being ready for ceremony, and then the event might be over around 11 or so. By the time we pack up and get back here and unload, it's typically around 2 a.m. And you remember some of those long days. So just like Olivia, you mentioned, it is way more. And I know sometimes that's what some couples don't necessarily understand is there's so much that goes into it, but we love it because the ultimate goal is making sure that everyone just has the best experience on the day, smooth sailing, and just ready to show up and have a good time.
And one thing you brought up in that as well is being prepared,
Mhm.
understanding the venue, understanding where to load, where to like walk through, especially if someone is having their ceremony and reception in the same venue and they might be getting ready. Like there's so many details to understand, but taking the time to understand it, have those backups. For you, why do you emphasize that not only to the team but to the client of like you don't have to worry we because I also know like you talk to the venue beforehand, even and like do a walkthrough beforehand, even if it's a brand new venue or a venue you've
Oh, for
worked.
sure.
Um, but why do you emphasize that? Because a lot of people would say, and I've heard of companies who don't take those extra steps, and then obviously things can fall through the cracks, unexpected things can happen. So why?
Goes back to the theme of your podcast here is achieving success and understanding that this is not what we view as just a job, and we're here to do the work and get home and go back and pet the dog. We're not really as much as we all have our individual personal lives. This is what, for me as a owner and as a company, this is what I eat, sleep, and breathe. And reputation matters more than anything. Word of mouth matters more than anything. And the passion that you put into it is what you receive out of it. So it's been the biggest blessing, something I'm so grateful about, is being able to do what I love full time. But within that, there's so many sacrifices that I always have to make along the way. Time, making sure that everything is perfect, and going the mile above somebody who might just show up and oh, here's the names, here's the bride and groom. And I hear it all the time is, from other DJs, they might show up, they don't know the bride and groom's names. You know what they call the bride and groom?
What?
The newlyweds. It's the easiest way to say it. If you don't know the name of the couple, you just say, let's hear for the newlyweds. But or let's hear for the bride and groom. But if you genuinely get to know the couples and what's important to them and do all this prep work and take every step and going to check out the venues, it allows the day to be successful. We're setting ourselves up for success, and not just success for the wedding, but the continued success in having great reviews and great testimonials and great word of mouth. And it's like a trickle effect. But at the end of the day, it's something, because I love what I do, it doesn't feel like, oh man, I need to put in extra time or work into it. It's something you just genuinely love to do.
And I think you brought up a really good point as well. It's like your reputation matters. And how do you want that reputation to sit? And part of that comes from not only achieving success, whether that looks in prep, in the processes you have in place, in the relationships you build, the service you deliver, but it comes from all those things working together. So that being said, like, how do you make sure that when you sign a contract with a client, both parties understand you're building a relationship? It's not, or even that initial meeting, because I know you have initial meetings before someone signs a contract
Yep.
with your clients. Like, how do you get that message across? Because some people might say, or even we'll bring up the aspect of selling. Like, selling is hard. Making people understand like why to pick you and like maybe not go somewhere else is difficult. So how do you handle that and put your unique Andrew Board touch on it along the way?
So I've done a lot of coaching with it, and there's a lot of different mentalities that go into sales, and especially something as touchy as a wedding, because not only do you have, not only for me, am I working with a bride, a groom, parents of the bride, parents of the groom, maybe a maid of honor, a best man, grandparents. There's so many opinions and there's so many people that you're working with. So it is so important that, it might not just be me having a conversation with somebody that says, oh man, I want, this concept sounds great. They might be getting opinions from the other, their fiance's parents that say, no, we need a live band. We don't want this. We need the singers. And so that's what, it is difficult in general, because there's so many different decision makers in a wedding, and it's such an emotional purchase. I've learned in a coaching program that I've done, and it's just really stuck with me since I kind of took that away, is that most services that people perform in most industries, you pay for something and you see the result right away. If you like, even as an example, you hire a painter to come in and paint your house, you might pay a certain percent before the work gets done, and then they paint, and then they finish the work, and then you pay the balance. A wedding in general, through all the different vendors, everything has to be paid before you even show up. So you have to put out all this money for venues and your entertainment, your photographer, your videographer, your florist, and your caterers, hair and makeup, all these different things, without having any idea, is it going to be a success or is it not? And that's such a risky thing, putting down, like when you buy a house, you're typically not putting down 100% of the money on day one. You're paying something in time. So because of that, it is such a process when it comes to the selling part of it. The number one thing for me has always been not sending out packages and PDFs and overwhelming information. Every wedding is so different. What one couple might like, another couple might not like. What's important to one couple might be the opposite of what's important to someone else. So to me, the starting point has always been having the ability to connect with somebody on the phone and really learn a little bit more about things that are important to them, why they're in this dilemma of the band DJ, what they really want to take away from their entertainment experience, some of the things that they're afraid of. They're afraid of a DJ being cheesy. They're afraid of a band taking a break and all their guests leaving the dance floor. All these little things are so important for me to know before we can even jump into the actual act of kind of going through what we do here at Rocket. But once we know all that information, the I always put together a bunch of options for couples to kind of go through. And then our number one thing that we've loved doing, and I remember the days where you were with us, Olivia, doing it with us, is these ability to connect one-on-one with couples in what we call private showcases. And it's just a great opportunity for couples to come into our showroom and have a chance one-on-one, just just you and your fiance, to come in and see and hear and experience what we do and how we do it, and having that ability to meet the actual people that are going to be there at your wedding, whether that's the DJ, the drummer, saxophone player, and hear that live in person. It's just a really great way for a couple to figure out, is this, number one, the style that I'm looking for, and number two, are these the people that I want to work with and trust to be there on the big day? So there is so much of a process, and sometimes couples in general forget how important it is to come in. They kind of just, sometimes planning a wedding is another like full-time job on top of work. And sometimes I see couples that kind of say, oh, yeah, we can watch a video, we can just check out, we can look at different prices. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I always encourage, especially for something like entertainment, come in, meet the team, see if it's something you connect with and trust and build the vision, see it live in person. And then it's a nice preview to the party. And then after that, you could just sit back and relax and know that, the entertainment's going to be great and the team you're working with is, exactly what you envisioned for your wedding.
And I'm so happy you brought that up too, because it is really something that not everyone does. And they go, oh, go to my website, especially in today's age. Go to my website, go click, check out these videos, whatever it might be. Whereas when you get the intimate ability to say, okay, this is what we're thinking about, let's go listen. You'll hear the acoustics, you get to hear what it's like. You get to, like you said, emphasis on meeting the team. So you'll get to see who will be there that day, the personality, how the team works together as well. Because, like, as you said, I've been there many times, have had conversations and many times in those rooms. And when you're able to understand the perspective of both sides, not only from a one-on-one client to individual who works there basis, and really make sure you guys vibe together. But one thing I love that I always notice is you also get to watch how the team works and the
For
team
sure.
operates as a whole, how we communicate, how We joke how we operate in a high pressure situation, because even in those
Mhm.
private showing, there's moments of blips, or something might not turn on the way we want it to turn on,
Yeah.
with lighting to show that. And in those moments, how does one person maybe pick up the conversation while something else is being worked out? Like, understanding and being able to see all that, I think, is so critical as well, regardless of how much money you're investing or the timeline you're investing. It's also ultimately about that experience.
And understanding, like you said too, understanding that if you know, and you can come in, like I'm trying to visualize from an outside perspective, if you come in and you know that the team is like bickering with each other and it's just a weird energy, and you just see it's like not the right fit, then you can kind of feel that. But if you know that on the contrary, if you see, wow, this team looks like they really work together. It looks like they love what we do. And that's the our thing that we love portraying. It's our number one thing that I hope comes through in the message is the passion that we all have for it. I take Isaac as an example. I take Dennis as another example, both from a drumming perspective. When you watch them play, you just are like, wow, like if they were not here in this present moment, they would be at home playing the drums. And that's obvious to see. And that's the message that comes through. And that is so important because most entertainment companies, you're just basing it off of a video, a promo video, or a website, or a PDF. Here's our packages, and not having that second part. And that's why that is such an important piece for couples to consider in general.
And for me as an individual, and Andrew, you know this, I want to know, like, I want to see it. I hate calling call centers, or like, and you have the robotic voice on it and it just
Oh,
takes you through the prompts. And I'm like, speak to a human, speak to an individual, just like get me to that point. And I've had businesses where they like, and not in the DJ space, I'm just using this as an example. They refuse to have a meeting in person. They refuse, and like they're local to me. It's ability to go and meet. Now, granted, their services and like I'm fully remote, but if I am going and doing a speaking job, I'm going in person. If there's certain things, you show up. And for me, when I invest a lot of money, whether it's in car, whether it's like going with a bank, like all these things, I want to show up and talk. I want to make
to a
sure
human.
that, yeah, in financial services, whatever it might be, I want to make sure, I want to sit down with you, make sure we're in alignment, make sure it's a good fit. So when that gets pushed back of like, oh, well, you could go do this, I'm like, if you won't take the time to
Yeah.
sit with me, now I don't care what you do. I don't care how great you are. If you can't take the time to understand the perspectives and really make sure it's a fit, then especially in an emotional and financial investment like a wedding, going back to that point,
Mhm.
why should I hire you? So when I always look at companies and entertainment companies as a whole, no matter what the event is, I'm looking at the energy, I'm looking at the team they bring in, I'm looking at how are they making sure I'm involved in understanding the process, and how are we
Mhm.
communicating? I'm looking at all those things. So understanding that as an entertainment company, as well as bringing something that allows everyone to be happy. And let me tell you, I personally know 9 times out of 10, when couple and all their friends see it in real life and the impact it makes, it goes leaps and bounds of what they even expected it to be. That is winning, because I think people don't take all of that into consideration like you and the team do.
Yeah, sometimes people just kind of shortcut how much is actually important to it, but it is a whole vision. It's not just one little, aspect. It's the whole thing that contributes. But like you said, it is a test for us when a couple comes in and thinks in that way. And that's the thing is those are the types of couples that we want, couples that value coming in to see and meet and check out versus the ones that just like view it as a oh checklist. We found our entertainment done. We're looking more for the exact vision that you just described in what couples see in us, And a lot of it is all about energy in both sides.
And I one last question I want to ask too is like why do you emphasize that? Like there like you just said, there is time that goes into making sure you're up to date with things. I remember the moment COVID hit and obviously weddings were planned and you and I were on the phone and you're like, okay, this is lasting more than 2 weeks. We're going and we're doing this. We're looking at the states that are still open. So maybe in our geographical area, we can help the bride and groom get a space over there. We're calling, we're doing this. Why is it so important to you and to your core? Because a lot of business owners, as they build and they grow, they don't always keep to those true fundamental visions and pillars they might have, and making sure that everyone on the team stays true to those pillars and key aspects of things.
So in order to do that, you're absolutely right. That's a big thing that I've always put in my head is, and you see a lot of businesses, I'm sure, that even come on your show that do face that. It's almost like a growing challenge because you do everything, you grow and grow and grow, and then all of a sudden you have so many dates, and then you're like, wait a second, I don't need to do X, Y, and Z. So but on the contrary, the reason for me that I always keep that fire lit to keep bringing things to the next level, once again goes back to the theme of your show, achieving success. But we can't take anything for granted because things happen, and all of a sudden, like just as an example, there's only so many dates available for a wedding in general. Most couples typically get married on like a Friday, a Saturday are the two main peak days, and then a Sunday and Thursdays are becoming a little bit more popular as like an off-peak day. But it is so important because you only have a set number of days available. And that's why you always have to try to elevate and you always have to take it to the next level, because we don't know what the future is. We don't know, in the situation that the whole world experienced with COVID, the whole industry can just get shut down in a blink. And that's why, for me, it's always about taking things, growing it to the next level. But for me, it's also a level of self-achievement of what I'm doing. I remember back in the day playing like The Sims or like Roller Coaster Tycoon. That was before your time.
No,
Um,
I played that game.
oh,
I
you
loved
did?
Roller Coaster Tycoon.
So, but to me, it was always a greater vision, not just driven based on making the money, but also in how do you always keep advancing up that ladder. And once you think that you're here, there's always another step up, and then there's always a next step up, and then there's always a next step up. And as a business, sometimes you get here and then there's a few steps down. You might have a different team, or you might have somebody, leave the industry as a whole. You might have, 1 year where we don't have as many bookings, so then you get set back a few stages, but then you're always continuously, every year and all the time, just keep trying to take those steps up. And the ultimate thing is because it's what I love to do. So if you love to do it, it doesn't really feel like you want to ever sacrifice. You never want to, not give your all. But it all starts with the finding your path of what you love, sticking to it, and always elevating yourself, your brand, and being able to understand, if I want to do what I love every day, this is the life that I chose. And I always keep chasing it to get, greater and greater and greater.
I love that. And Andrew, how could people get in touch with you if they want to connect with you?
So rockyourpartynow.com is our main website. Rocket Entertainment on Instagram and all the cool parts. As Olivia said, info at rocketentertainment.com. Andrew at rockyourpartynow.com. And obviously, there's a great way to check out some of the cool band DJ blends and things that we do. And of course, anybody that is kind of interested in the spectrum or any questions, I love hearing from people in general. If it's something like, wait, I don't understand a band or a DJ or both, So obviously check out online. Anybody feel free to contact me, and really appreciate you for having me on your show, Olivia.
Course, and I've loved our conversation because it gets to dive into so many amazing aspects that I know about you already, and I advocate for you already, as well as Rocket, as well as your journey. And that being said, I want to thank you, Andrew, for all of your insight today and all of your perspective.
Thank you for having me, and I hope everyone was able to take a little bit away. Find what you love. That's the key thing. Find what you love, chase it, never give up, and just keep elevating, because when you at the end of the day, when you do find what you love, it never feels like you're going to work. And that's the true definition to me of success.
And I love that. And I love how Andrew just helped kick off the few of our key takeaways from today's conversation, which I'm going to say Andrew knocked it out of the park with that one, and where we will start on those few key takeaways. Another key takeaway from today's conversation is it is things aren't always easy, but if you have your mission, if you stand by your mission, there is a path, a direction forward. You will be able to grow. Just stay true to that. You will be able to communicate to your team. It all stands in how you are anchored to your mission in everything that you do, as well as your mind has to be open to something non-traditional. So those people out there who heard our conversation today, and as Andrew said, the band, the DJ, what would it be like? What is it like? In order to go through with having this amazing service, you need to have your mind open. If you're someone who's worried too much about what your Aunt Lou might say about having a band and DJ mix, take that into consideration if this is a right fit. But it is ultimately, and even from a business perspective, as Andrew mentioned today, you have to be open to having conversations. Andrew mentioned, which we didn't even touch upon as well, the coaching he has done over the years, the training he has done. As an entrepreneur, as someone who wants to hone their craft, you have to continuously be able to be open to say, it is time for me to grow. It is time for me to beta test this. It is time for me to have these conversations. Keep your mind open, as well as reputation and word of mouth is so important. I think this is an aspect that we sometimes forget, especially in the service business, is that it isn't just about booking clients. It isn't just about providing a service. It is about getting to a point where you have relationships with clients. You have relationships with your peers. You have satisfied individuals and family members who, from the point you meet them in a pre-meeting, as Andrew said, that initial come into the office and be able to hear everything live, to the day of your reception, everything should be amazing and be able to be transparent and communicative and all these different aspects. And so understanding that by providing that really good service, you are building a really good reputation, which will in turn come with word of mouth. But reputation is everything. So this was a great episode with our top-notch guest, Andrew Bohr. Thank you for listening and have a successful day.